Hello, welcome back. I'm Tanya from Tanya's Witchy Kitchen, and how are you doing today? It's been a good day. It's been cold, super cold. We have just Arctic cold weather, but we'll be like 60 degrees change. Well, wait, it was negative 34. We're supposed to have 30s. Yeah, so like 60-degree difference within a couple days here. So I'm really looking forward to that. So a lot of times, you see me soap, and this, but I thought today I would take you on a little bit of a different video on what my typical non-soaping days look like, the different things I do. So it might not be interesting. It could be interesting. Let me know in the comments what you think. This is super short because I don't have a lot of time. But anyway, 3 things. Be kind, be forgiving, be you. And let's go see what a not soaping typical day for me is. Okay, into our non-soaping day. So, first of all, I usually end up having to clean up my workstation. And if you see, I have a silicone mat on my table now. And yeah, it was a genius idea for myself to get a silicone mat to put on top of the table, and I don't have to worry about my workspace as far as lag getting on my table, and because it's a process. But anyway, so yeah, the first thing is usually cleaning up and organizing from the week, just because those are some samples from Nurture's Homemade, is one of their orange micas, and this is a sample of their fragrance oil. This is genius by them, I have to say. That little valve of sample oil, genius idea. So, yeah, usually on days I'm not soaping, it's 18 other different things going on. For example, let's see, I'm going to be sealing these soaps. So these are little soap ends, that you see me cut off the ends of the soap. And I know some people really like them. They've gotten a little bigger if I make them in my tall skinny mold. They're not always as big in the smaller wood molds, just because, it depends on what I made and how I'm cutting them. But I do, I don't shrink wrap them. They're just sealed in there for future use if I send them in orders, or if my grandkids come over and they insist they need their own soap bar. They usually get the little ends. And then there's stamping of soaps if I've cut soaps. If you've seen in the previous video or previous screen, there was I think there was a soap. Yeah, there was a soap on the top left that had to be cut, and there's usually some sort of soap, not every day, but a few days out of the week that I have to cut and stamp. And I usually, sometimes I stamp with mica, and sometimes I just do a basic plain stamp, but it's basically, these were cut probably the day before, and just, clean them up a little bit more than I did, because I just never seem to have time to clean them up. I do not trim the edges. I do not do that. I just feel you are wasting so much of the soap, because when you actually, if you trimmed all those edges, with a little paring knife and angled them all cute and stuff, it adds up to be a lot of soap. I mean, unless you're doing a lot of stuff with that soap, great, but I don't, and I just feel I'd rather have the consumer get that extra little bit of soap. There's my stamp. The sun was right on that one. It's just a little butterfly stamp that you see on all the soaps. This, put the saran wrap between, just because it doesn't stick. Yeah, it's a genius way to do it. Can't say I thought it up myself, because I didn't. But, yeah, so there's soaps to stamp, and yeah, I don't trim them. I just make sure they are, kind of smooth around the edges, and go from there. Why? It's soap. I mean, it's cute enough as it is. Does it have to be? Yeah, I don't know. And some people do, and I'm not gonna knock anybody who does, you know. And there's so much you can do with soap shreds and ends of soap. And I've seen one of the girls, she had red and white soap, and so she candy caned it. As far as after this, you can use rubbing alcohol, you can use water. I just usually wipe them down, just for, you know, it just makes them pretty. If you use water, just a little bit of water on your rig and some little alcohol, and it'll just shine them up just a little bit. It's really weird, but that's the best I can do. Some people actually dip them in hot water, literally dip the soap in hot water. To me, it's almost like is it a pre-used thing? Could be. And then there's always inventory to do or restock, and this is just my little sample jars that I use for my batches. So when I make a batch of lotion, I usually put a little bit in here, and it gets labeled and put away so that just in case there's quality control problems or anything like that. And then this is my colloidal oatmeal. I actually make it at home myself. I do not buy it. This is organic oats. So being it's a household product, what I do is I have the cost of that organic oatmeal that I've used in my house. And I have a sheet that I write down how many ounces I use throughout the year of that organic oatmeal. And I just tabulate that as a cost to my business. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the business has to pay me back because I purchased the oatmeal. Even though it's kind of like, the left hand pays the right hand. But I love my little spice grinder. It is amazing, and it does such a great job on the oatmeal. Seriously, like, just get a good blender or whatever, and yeah, makes it nice and fine and powdery. And then it just goes back into that little container. I think I made 2 ounces, and depending on which soaps I make, it can last, it can last a few months. It can last, through, a week. I don't actually put a lot of colloidal oats in. I put them in certain ones. Does that make sense? I know some people put them in every single soap they make, which I think is awesome. Really awesome. But no, I don't. So these are organic, non-GMO, and gluten-free. You gotta watch your oatmeal because it's not always gluten-free if you're going for a gluten-free thing, but I don't label my soaps gluten-free. This is another thing I do is I make tinctures and I strain them, and that one needed to be strained so all the sediment is on the bottom. So when you strain the tincture, you leave it set for so long after. This has probably been set in a couple weeks or more, but and then you pour the sediment off and just leave it on the bottom. Okay, I am out of my basil infused witch hazel. This is my batch book. Every single thing I make has a little form sheet, if you want to call it that. That's my batch book. And there's my basil. I just love basil. Just like doing this, crushing it in my hands. I love the smell. It's just... But anyway, this is the basil witch hazel for my lilac and basil face cream. And so I need to make it more infused. Now, some people, I've seen the Nerdy Farm Wife, she actually uses the basil fresh. I prefer the dried so I can infuse it longer. So basically, chopping it up, and it was hard to chop up. Should have had a wider mouth jar, but that's okay. So, everything, like I said, I make goes in the batch book, and I will show you. And then I just add a little bit of alcohol because sometimes it's, depending on how you're extracting, the alcohol can extract a little bit, the witch hazel will extract, and so I want all the components extracted, right? So just a little bit of alcohol. It's like, what is that, 0.11, 0.14? It can't decide what it wants to do. But so then in my batch book, so this is for small infusions. If it's a lotion, it has its own page. Bath salts have their own page. Certain types of soap, liquid soap, the transparent soap, those have their own page. But when it's an infusion, there's like 4 to a page because infusions are different. It's kind of like I'm using that infusion will have a batch number, and if I make the basil or the lilac and basil face cream, I will use that batch number on my lot number because it correlates. So I know when the basil is the witch basil infused witch hazel, when it was from, when I made it, and I can all track that. This is my witch hazel. It is going in there. I guess I'm making about 8 ounces. I wasn't sure when I started. I try and keep my ratios the same. So going off my other notes, how much basil I used, how much witch hazel I used. So they're always kind of consistent. And always, 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 don't forget to label your jar. Being it's witch hazel, I will not put a metal cover on it. The metal cover can corrode with the witch hazel. I always put the wax paper between, and then a plastic lid. And then I label it with what it says. What are we writing? We're writing basil infused witch hazel or basil witch hazel, and then that's my batch number, and how many weeks I'm going to infuse it. And here I am just marking it that it is all gone. So that one I no longer have. Now I am mixing my essential oil blend, Fuzzy Winter. No, I am not going to give you the recipe for this because this is something my son and I made up quite a few years ago when I first started soaping. And I just can't give you the recipe. I'm sorry. But you'll see what's in it. But that's another thing I do is this is essential oils. I have a few essential oil blends. I have a lemongrass and spearmint. I have the Fuzzy Winter. I have mountain spice. And so they all, require being made. And so that is one thing I also do. And then I can also check over my my inventory at the same time. And, I think I used up like 3 bottles because I don't use a lot of it. Slowly growing, you slowly increase your amounts, but these are all 1 ounce bottles. The other ones are 2 and 4. But, then I can go over my inventory and be like, oh, I used up my lemon, I used up my whatever, and so I can track that and order more if necessary. Also, on a non-soaping day, I will mix up my oils for soaping for the week, which is what I call master batching. And so there's beeswax, and I don't think I show you everything, but beeswax and tallow. This could be coconut. I am not even sure what it is. I think this is my tallow. Yep. And it just goes into there. It gets melted down. It's usually 120 ounces. So it fills up my bucket. So I put it in the bucket for the week. And if I'm soaping pretty soon, I will actually divide out once it's all melted down and mixed together really well. I will put it into like that jar like that, because you see me, when I blend the lye water with the oils, I'll measure it out into the jars right away if I plan on doing it within the next day or so. My lye water is usually made, I've tried the 50-50, but I just cannot get the ratio with the citric acid, and since sometimes I only make 1 batch of soap, sometimes I make 3 in a day, and I just mix the lye water as I go. Yeah, it's how it is. So it's all melted down, and I'll have to remelt it again because that is not totally melted with the beeswax. If you're wondering what was in the jar, that was palm oil. I keep it, when I get it, I separate it because of the different fatty things. You have to melt it down before you pour it off. But anyway, so this was my Saturday, and I hope you enjoyed a day of not soaping. And as always, I hope you had a good time. Thank you for dropping by, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.